The privilege of a lifetime is to become who you truly are, said Carl Jung. Have you ever noticed how some people seem to have an almost magnetic control over their environment? Without raising their voice, without explaining themselves, they don't argue, they don't chase, they simply withdraw, and suddenly everything shifts. The energy changes, people start wondering, chasing, doubting themselves. Because when someone who was once available emotionally, mentally, spiritually decides to go silent, those who depended on their presence begin to panic. What if you did the same? What if, instead of responding immediately, you paused? Instead of pleasing, you observed. Instead of explaining yourself endlessly, you simply disappeared. What would change? Who would show their true face? That's the essence of individuation. Jung's term for becoming your truest self, not who the world told you to be, not the persona you wear to be accepted, but the real you, the one buried beneath all the noise. From the moment we're born, we're trained to respond and say yes when we mean no, to smile when we're hurting, to be present for others even when it empties us. And over time, without realizing it, we begin to measure our worth by how available we are to others. But here's the hard truth. Your constant availability is not a virtue. It's a trap, a silent, socially rewarded form of self-abandonment. Because when you are always accessible, always willing, always responding, you become predictable. And anything predictable becomes a tool. People don't truly see you. They see what you give: attention, validation, support. And when you no longer provide those things, they say, you've changed. But what they really mean is, you stopped being useful to me. Carl Jung believed the psyche isn't just a passive thing, it's an energy system. And like all systems, it can be drained, burned out, or hijacked. Think about how much psychic energy you spend arguing to defend yourself, reacting to a text message, pleasing people you don't even trust, explaining your silence to those who never deserved your words. Every time you do this, you lose power. You lose you. And the more depleted you become, the more easily you're manipulated. Because here's what no one tells you. Manipulators don't need force. They just need your patterns. They study your reactions, your guilt, your need to be understood. Then they trigger you subtly, and you respond right on cue. But something profound happens when you stop playing that game. When you become conscious of your energy. When you stop reacting just because someone else is uncomfortable. When you retreat not out of fear but out of power. The moment you do that, the entire dynamic changes. People get frustrated. They say you're cold, arrogant, distant. But what they really mean is, you're no longer controllable. Your silence takes away their favorite weapon, your emotional availability. Now they're left with themselves. And many can't handle that, because your absence exposes their chaos. Your stillness reveals their noise. Jung once said, we do not become enlightened by imagining figures of light, but by making the darkness conscious. When you stop reacting, you're not being rude, you're becoming aware. You start to notice the manipulation, the subtle guilt trips, the way people drain you and call it love, and you begin to ask yourself the most important questions. Why do I feel responsible for everyone's comfort? Why do I explain myself so much? Why do I feel guilty when I set a boundary? And the answer is often this. You were conditioned to believe that your value lies in how useful you are to others. But the truth is, you don't owe anyone an explanation for your silence. You don't have to justify your absence. You don't need to perform emotional labor to be worthy. In fact, your greatest power is in what you withhold, your time, your attention, your response. Not out of cruelty, but out of clarity. Because when you stop being available to everyone, you become available to yourself. You start to notice who gets angry when you don't drop everything for them, who accuses you of being distant when you set a boundary, who disappears when you stop making the effort. These aren't losses. They're revelations. And yes, there will be pain. There will be loneliness. The silence will be deafening at first. But then, something else emerges: peace. Not the peace of avoidance, the peace of alignment. And in that silence, you start to rebuild piece by piece. You reclaim your energy. You reconnect with your values. You stop betraying yourself for approval. Because the people who love the always available version of you, they never really loved you. They loved the access to you. And now that access is revoked. Jung's process of individuation requires this: a period of isolation, a sacred solitude, a return to the self. You become quiet not because you have nothing to say, but because you finally have something worth protecting: your peace, your presence, your power. And slowly, the guilt fades. The need to explain disappears. You start choosing where your energy goes, and more importantly, where it doesn't. You're not cold. You're clear. You're not distant. You're discerning. The world will call you selfish, but the truth is, you've simply stopped giving pieces of yourself to those who only wanted fragments. And in doing so, you become rare, valuable, respected. Because when you're no longer available for everything, you become unforgettable. So ask yourself now, are you willing to be misunderstood in order to be free? Are you ready to walk alone for a while to finally meet the real you? Because the ones who truly see you will never need to drain you to keep you close. They'll honor your silence, respect your boundaries, and love the you who chose yourself first. If this message resonates, write in the comments, I choose my peace. Let the world know you're done performing, done explaining, done being available for things that drain you. This is not the end. This is your beginning. A new life not built on noise, but on depth. Not built on approval, but on authenticity. Not built on who you were told to be, but on who you truly are. Because like Jung said, the privilege of a lifetime is to become who you truly are. And that journey starts when you stop being available.